In August 2008, Canadian freelance journalist Amanda Lindhout was kidnapped in Somalia for what would turn out to be 460 days. During her captivity, Lindhout's mother, Lorinda Stewart, found herself in the role of hostage negotiator. She answered calls. She had to try and establish trust with a man who held her daughter's fate in his hands. That man is now before the courts here in Canada. He was lured from Somalia by the RCMP under the promise of a phony book deal. Well, this morning, Lindhout and her mother are speaking out, not about the court case, but they're here about Lorinda Stewart's gripping new book. It's called One Day Closer. Amanda Lindhout and her mom, Lorinda Stewart, are our guests this morning on Your Morning. Good to have you both here.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good. I want to start, first of all, with you, Lorinda. We talk a lot about the mental stress. There's also been some physical stress on your body as a result of what you experienced in your role as negotiator. It's come out in terms of a tremor in your voice.
Yes. Due to the long-term stress, I developed this tremor, and it does affect my vocal cords.
I want to talk about this role of mom. You know what, as a mom, I'm a mom of 3 kids, and we always say we would do anything for our kids, but you never imagined you're going to be in the role that you were as a negotiator, fighting for your daughter's life in a completely different country. You can't see her. What was that like to find yourself in that role, in this war room where there's posters on the wall to give you clues of what to say as you deal with this man you can't see?
Well, I think that none of us actually knows what we're capable of until we're in a position where we have to do something. And when it comes to the life of your child, I think a mother would do anything.
That strong instinct of a mom is what struck me reading your book. They prepared you, the RCMP did, for what they called the bad call. And that was going to be a call where the negotiators were going to try and put extra stress on you, play up to your mother's instincts. And your instructions were, if that happens, if you hear your daughter in pain over the phone or screaming, you have to hang up. How do you hang up?
Well, it's very difficult. When we had the worst call, I knew that I had to hang up, but I also had a message that I needed to get to the kidnappers. So I had to stay on the call long enough to get my message across while I was listening to my daughter being hurt and begging me to help her. So it was extremely stressful.
You write about some of that in the book. Amanda, I was curious at that moment when your mom was writing about knowing that she had to hang up. You are on the other end of that call, and you're a strong and very independent woman. Your mom establishes that in the book really clearly. But to be a child who's crying out for help and to have the phone go dead, what was that moment like?
The experience of captivity for me in so many ways was one of realizing that my mother is my core. And so even though we weren't able to talk during those 460 days freely at all, at any point, I always knew my mother would be doing everything she could. And I knew that we would find strength in the hope that one day we would be reunited. And what I focused on as a survival strategy for myself was the reunion, the day that we would be together again. I would picture that in granular detail, and I think she was doing the same. And the title of my mom's book, One Day Closer, was a mantra that we both had separately across the world. One day closer. And so, what a beautiful title and so resonant for our experiences.
Let's talk about that day that you were finally reunited. You both said you had visualized it, but when you write about it in the book, Lorinda, it's different than what you'd imagined. You imagined this joyous celebration. Tell us instead what happened, what you saw.
Yes, what I imagined was basically a Hollywood moment. The reality of that moment was very different because it was shocking and horrifying to see the condition that my daughter was in when I saw her the first time.
She was very thin. You described how you could feel her bones,
Yeah.
but also it was her eyes that stood out to you.
Yeah.
This is the picture of you guys coming home, not of the exact moment, but you talk about what you saw in her eyes.
Her eyes just looked haunted with pain. It was extremely difficult.
What was that moment like for you, Amanda?
I mean, there was quite a surreal quality to it. I mean, for 460 days, I not only had my freedom been taken away from me, but, as my mom is saying, I had been really terribly abused and mistreated, so I was really unwell. So the moment wasn't like the moment of absolute pure joy. It was that, but there were other things too. There was a lot of pain wrapped up inside of that moment, and it's taken a lot of years to, to process that experience, and I think for the reunion to be as complete as it is now, it's devoid of the pain that it once carried.
Wow. What's your relationship like now?
We have a great relationship.
We do.
We laugh a lot. We play a lot. We dance a lot. We drink
And
wine.
we're just like any other mother and daughter,
Except
you know?
that you have this shared horrific experience in
Yeah.
your past. So how do you move past that to this?
We've been talking about that, and I think what we've said is that it doesn't define us actually in our real lives. It's not what we sit around and talk about with our friends. It's not what we talk about even when we're together. That experience has changed us and changed our relationship. And then we've also, 8 years later, we've moved on, and, we do things that are fun. My mom turned 60 last year, and we went to India for a month together, which was something we'd always wanted to do. And I wrote about in my book was something that I had dreamed about doing when I was in captivity. And so for her 60th, we fulfilled that dream.
Finally got that dream fulfilled.
And we had fun. And we were not talking about Somalia during that month.
It's just a real pleasure to have both of you here, Lorinda, and to read your story of strength, of a mother's love, how, your wisdom and intuition all combined for a really incredible task that you had in front of you. Thank you both for being here today.
Thank you.
Thank you.